The word is af. In Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has used this word multiple times. Now, what does af mean? Af is translated as forgiveness. However, there are two words perhaps you've heard in the Quran or in the ahadith of the Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam. One is maghfirah and the other one is af. Maghfirah also is translated as forgiveness, and af is also forgiveness. But there's a slight difference in between both of them, as the scholars will explain. Af in Arabic means that if you walk on a sand, and when you walk on a sand, what happens? You leave traces. You leave what? Traces. And after you leave, wind comes and removes the traces. So after you walk, there were some traces, and after that wind blew and the traces were removed. So af is that forgiveness which leaves no trace of that sin whatsoever. And maghfirah is that forgiveness that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala conceals your faults. It's still there, but Allah doesn't expose you in front of the creation, in front of other people. And it is upon Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala whether Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala punishes you for that sin or no. But in front of the other people, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala won't expose you. It is still within the book of deeds. But af is that forgiveness that even the scholars mention that it is removed from the book of deed as well. So you always seek forgiveness from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, such forgiveness which leaves no traces of sin. Also, af means to forgive other people. Like, for example, if someone has made a mistake, someone wronged you, and they come, they realize, and they sought forgiveness from you, and then you forgive them in such a way that you don't have any hatred. You don't have that animosity within your heart anymore. No traces of malice, no traces of hatred, no traces of any bad feelings. This is why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala commanded Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, O Prophet of Allah, خُذِ الْعَفْوَ. O Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, pardon, forgive, and وَأْمُرْ بِالْعُرْفِ, and instruct the people with goodness. What is goodness? Quran and the Sunnah of Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. وَأَعْرِضْ عَنِ الْجَاهِلِينَ. And O Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, ignore the ignorant ones. The ignorant one, they will come, they will taunt you, they will do all evil things, but you don't care about them. The only thing is you convey the message of Allah, and if someone does something bad to you, you forgive them, and you forgive them in such a way that leaves no trace of any ill feeling and bad feeling. Everyone knows Umar bin Khattab, right? The second Khalifa. Amongst the 10, today we've covered about the Ashara Mubashara, right? He's the second, who Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam gave tidings of Jannah in the dunya. Second Khalifa Umar bin Khattab al-Faruq radiyallahu ta'ala anhu. It is mentioned that there was a man by the name of Uyayna ibn Hisn. He came to Umar bin Khattab saying, "O Umar, you are not just. When you give out sadaqat and charity, you give preference to some other people over others." So Umar, being Umar, everyone knows Umar, so he was very mad at it. But there was another guy by the name of Hur. His name was Hur, and Hur was the nephew of Uyayna. So Hur told Umar radiallahu ta'ala, "Oh Umar, stop. Remember the verse of the Quran that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala instructed Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, خُذِ الْعَفْوَ وَأْمُرْ بِالْعُرْفِ وَأَعْرِضْ عَنِ الْجَاهِلِينَ." And the narration goes on, it says, وَكَانَ وَقَّافًا عِنْدَ كِتَابِ اللَّهِ. And Umar was someone that whenever he heard an ayah of the Quran, immediately he stopped. So when he heard the ayah of the Quran, he immediately said, subhanallah, you've spoken the truth. Now I'm not going to say anything. And I have no feeling, ill feeling and bad feeling for this person. I have forgiven him for the sake of Allah, because this was the instruction given to Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam. Who am I? I am just the slave of Allah. I am the servant of Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam. If Nabi is commanded to forgive, who is Umar? So the message and the lesson for us is, if anyone who treats you bad, you think, right? You always forgive them. Your job is to convey the message of Islam, convey the message of Quran, and no matter how the other people treat you, you don't worry about that, because you've done it for the sake of Allah, and Allah knows it best. Inshallah.